So I am here to talk about moving fast safely. Have you ever watched a murmuration of starlings move across the sky, fast, twisting, turning, but never colliding? It looks like chaos, but it's actually constant learning. Every bird making small adjustments based on what the birds around it are doing. And this is what moving fast safely in nature looks like. Shared awareness, coordination, and feedback across the group. Every bird has the information it needs to make safe decisions. And this is what's missing in a lot of AI deployment today. This year, Boston Consulting Group did some research with about 1,200 organizations. And they found that of those organizations, 95% are not seeing tangible value from their AI investments. And this is the adoption gap that we're here to discuss today as an entire room, and we'll be unpacking this further in our panel shortly. And I'm here to open that conversation with this talk that will tell you why that adoption gap isn't a technology problem. It's actually a trust problem. Because when you add what are essentially a set of probabilistic black boxes into the heart of your organization, trust doesn't happen by accident. It has to be designed. The trouble is, not many organizations seem to understand this, and that's kind of understandable because the last 15 years, digital transformation has run on this mantra of move fast and break things, ship it, iterate, fail fast, recover, repeat. And the challenge is this doesn't really work with generative AI because when generative AI fails, it's often quite invisible. And when it does fail, it also can look like it's working. And I'm sure that we've all experienced these kind of hallucinations, as they're called, as we've explored these tools. Traditional digital systems tend to break more visibly. So a form breaks, users complain, you roll the feature back, you change it, you push it again. But with generative AI systems, these breaks don't fail transactions, they actually break entire systems. So if you think about generative AI being used in a loan calculation, that loan calculation providing an incorrect result might stop someone from being able to get a house, or generative AI being used in a medical advice situation and the advice given or the recommendation looks really convincing, but in fact it's not. So when these systems fail, they tend to break the legitimacy or underlying trust of a whole system. So we really need a new approach. So instead of moving fast and breaking things, I think we need to move fast safely by deliberately thinking about closing this adoption gap by making trust a first-order design challenge. So we've been looking at these challenges of AI systems for the last 10 years, long before they became cool, for a wide range of organizations, working on some of the knottiest challenges when it comes to using AI or using complex data sets in new or novel and unexpected ways. In 2017, we worked with Google AI to help them explore what personal, on-device, agentic AI might look and feel like in Pixel phones. And we were focused on how those experiences could feel transparent and be embedded with user control. 2019, we worked with Blue Cross Blue Shield in the US to help them scale a proactive care model from one state to multiple states. And we helped them to develop their first AI assurance process and the kind of foundations they needed to set up a medical council, which is still in use today and has put them ahead of their competitors for years. And we've always done what we could to share what we can in the open through our open source design pattern catalogue that's used by teams all around the world. And through this work, we've seen, we have lots of shifts that we think organizations need to make to really make sure that their tech stack is trustworthy so that their users and colleagues can really trust what's happening with technology. But there's two shifts I wanted to talk to you about today to open this conversation about the adoption gap. And the first is that AI changes your organization. This is because generative AI doesn't just speed. It's now gone out. Oh, there we go. It doesn't just speed things up or automate. It actually changes who does what. Because in traditional digital systems, they execute, and you kind of know that every input is going to create kind of the same output. With generative AI, the same inputs don't create the same outputs, but also those outputs require human judgment. So you need someone in your team who's going to check those results, but also monitor how that AI is performing over time. So as a result, your team's roles shift, their workflows change. And if you don't design for that change deliberately, what we've seen is teams exhibit confusion about who should be doing what. There might be resistance to those new responsibilities that they have in their roles, but also you end up with technology that's just not used or just not used well. It's a little bit like a professional kitchen. They bring in a new piece of kit and it doesn't just get plugged in and left. The kitchen staff rethink their roles, rethink the workflow to make sure that they're being really efficient in using that piece of new kit to provide their service. And what we see in our work all the time is it's the organizations, not necessarily with better models, that are able to use AI really well. It's actually the organizations who have made this human-AI partnership explicit and are thinking about how they can design that specifically for trust. So let me show you an example from one of our clients. Citizens Advice receive millions of client queries every year, and that demand is increasing. Normally, well, without AI, advisors would answer a client query, a supervisor would then check that answer, rewrite it, maybe edit. But because Citizens Advice are under such demand, they've introduced an AI system called Caddy. And Caddy has reduced the response time to client queries from 10 minutes down to 4. It's really impressive. And you might think that's because they've removed humans, but far from it. In fact, those human roles have shifted. So supervisors no longer edit individual advisors' answers. They're actually improving the AI system. So they might be correcting old policy references, dealing with edge cases, or adding missing context that's needed. Now, 80% of responses given by Caddy are approved immediately. The remaining 20% are where supervisors will step in. And as a result of this really tight human-AI partnership that they've got, it means that advisors who use Caddy are now twice as likely to report confidence in the answers they're able to give, which is great. Well done, them. The second shift I wanted to introduce is this idea that accountability is really structural. Bruce Schneier wrote a blog post a couple of weeks ago, actually about AI agents, but he wrote that integrity isn't a feature you add, it's an architecture you choose. And I really love this quote because I think it speaks to what we mean when we say accountability is structural, because it's not something you can kind of bolt on once something's gone wrong. It's something you need to choose from the beginning when you start to design your AI system. That's partly because, again, in traditional digital systems or non-AI systems, but also in other industries, you kind of know that the same inputs will kind of give you the same outputs, and you roughly know what will happen. So you can actually just test once. Whereas when we start to add AI into these systems, we're not able to just test once because we don't know exactly how the system will perform. And so we have to start introducing feedback loops. We have to test whilst this AI system learns and changes. And what's really important is that that feedback loop is really visible. And we are learning this time and time again with our clients. So people who use AI systems need to know, how did an AI give the output that it did? Are the corrections captured somewhere? Does the system learn and change? And that visibility of that feedback loop gives people confidence to keep using the system. We've been working with the Crown Prosecution Service on a number of their AI systems. Again, the Crown Prosecution Service have got a lot of digital evidence to process, and so they are looking at how AI might help them process faster and be able to put cases together quicker. But of course, it's so important that these AI systems don't go wrong, because prosecutors are using AI to make decisions that have real human consequences. In our user research a couple of weeks ago, someone said, a prosecutor said, I want to be told that the AI was corrected globally and highlight the changes and where they were made. So this prosecutor understands that any kind of edits that they're suggesting to the AI system could be used to update that system for everyone. And in that case, they can see how their work can improve the system across the entire Crown Prosecution Service. And then we also hear, am I going to spend 15 minutes fixing AI summaries so you can send me links that I just won't use? No. I'd only correct it if it's going to be used later, the joy of user research. And so this person is actually talking about this architectural choice, this question in action, because they're saying it's only if I know my feedback will be listened to and it will actually create change that I'll want to give it. And so we've been exploring what ways we can visualize this feedback for people, with the example on the right of kind of receipts maybe that we could actually give people to say this, that we've received a feedback. You can check and see how the system has evolved over time. It's a little bit like your Spotify discovery playlist. You know that what you listen to, what you skip, what you don't like, feeds into Spotify's AI systems. And you understand that it's both you and the AI system that is co-producing the outcome, which is your playlist. It's something similar like this that we're trying to achieve with the Crown Prosecution Service. So, moving fast safely isn't just about the product. It's really this organizational rhythm of feedback, testing, and review that makes that human-AI partnership really explicit. So let me come back to our starlings to close us off. The starlings are able to move fast safely because they're constantly adjusting. They're reading signals, staying aware, and keeping formation. Every small correction keeps the entire group safe. And this is what we want to see in generative AI too. No reckless speed, just steady adjustment together. Because in the age of AI, the organizations who are moving fast safely will be the ones that people turn to first. The ones who are able to move fast without losing control, the ones who stay in formation. And with that, I'd like to welcome Richard Allen to kick off our panel. Thank you so much for listening.